Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 355, and today we're having kind of an afternoon one. Actually worked out best for both of us. We were going to schedule it for 7, but hey, I kind of enjoy the afternoon ones. Keeps the night open. So today's guest is going to be Rene Cocolo, and AKA Growling Dog. And if you guys saw the test run, it was just fantastic. This is going to be, I think, a really enjoyable episode on many accounts. One, we're going to his background. Two, beat the crap out of cancer, his dog brother journey, what he teaches today. We got a video showing some stuff that he does as far as stick clinch stuff. I thought was absolutely fascinating. And then I got some other questions as far as, future status quo for him, what he feels or perceives the future of the dog brothers and all that. But again, if you checked out the test run, you're going to enjoy this one. So if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from, smash that like button. And without further ado, I will be bringing up Growling Dog. And, oh, there he is. All right. Okay, folks. Yeah, there we go.
That was my fault.
Oh yeah, no worries. I put you right back up. So yeah, you're coming through. I mean, everything was good. Picture, yeah, okay, coming through. Perfect. Yeah, we're good to go. So I don't know if you caught the intro or not, but basically you're just mentioning how the test run yesterday was really good. In a compliment to you. Normally what I do is I really want the guest to really kind of have a pleasant experience here. So I make sure I got all my T's crossed, I's dotted, and all that. But there was such a chemistry yesterday. It's like it made my outline just so easy. I'm like,
it was a blast. It was a blast. And I think I was telling my wife afterwards, I'm like, that was like one of the easiest podcasts I've ever been on, where it's like we're not staring at each other or waiting for somebody to say something, or I have to come up with some like question in my head. It's like, you like frogs?
No. I know it was really so. It makes my outline so easy because obviously when you can click in and gel into somebody's personality like that, it really makes it easy. And so yeah.
And also it could have been the cough syrup. I was taking some yesterday, so
it could have been that. Okay. Well, it could be nothing to do with it. So before we get started and all the good stuff, far as that, like I guess pre-FMA, pre-Dog Brother, all the exciting stuff. Like, what was your initial martial arts background?
So I started boxing when I was a kid. I kind of grew up all over the world, and my dad thought it'd be a good idea for me to learn something to defend myself with, besides picking up rocks and throwing them at people. And sometimes when you miss, they'll run at you.
When in doubt, projectiles.
Yeah. So I grew up in some pretty crazy places. I lived in Venezuela for a while as well. I grew up in Europe, and so yeah, because of the situation there, with the way they view whether it be immigrants or half breeds, or because you're a Spaniard living in a place that was colonized, things could get pretty funky pretty quickly. So my dad started me. I started boxing, and then I kind of started meeting some people who knew some martial arts, and started kind of like picking at them a little bit. And excuse me, then I got into I guess what you call formal training. So I was Thai boxing, I was doing Jeet Kune Do, and just like a bunch of other stuff, stuff that I did for a long period of time, but I wouldn't call myself, an authority in. I dip my feet in a lot of ponds, sort of thing.
Okay. So like the time frame that you're referencing, just as far as ages, are you talking adolescent, teenage years, or?
No. So when I was boxing, that was around like 8.
Oh, okay.
That
Okay.
was, and then because we were bouncing around, I wasn't really training as much as I was getting myself into a little bit of trouble.
Mm.
And and by trouble, I mean just again the situation I was saying before. It's like wherever I lived, there was some sort of issue with my background or who I am or what my parents did or whatever else. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until we actually moved to Canada that that I actually sought out um, like formal training, which that was in my early teens, early to late teens.
And
So, and again, like just the people I was hanging out with, everybody kind of trained. And back then, that was a rarity back then. Like in the 90s, like not a lot of people trained. Not a lot of people did Muay Thai. Not a lot of people did Jeet Kune Do
mm,
or Kali or anything else. So my friends kind of revolved around like training and punk rocks.
jeez, that could be a good combo. I don't
That's how I met one of my first like real instructors. Um, well, uh, let me rephrase that. One of the instructors that was a really big influence on me was Makoto Kabayama, which I'm pretty sure you may have heard of here and there.
Name, yeah, recently that name, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of us in Toronto, like from the early years, train with him or have some sort of lineage, connection to him. And this is the dude that when I first met him, like I had a chip on my shoulder. I just I have Spanish and Italian blood mixed in me, which is like nitroglycerin. It's just I just I
It's like
just
emotion on steroids.
oh yeah. It's like did that bird say something to me? It's just you yeah. So I met this guy, this Japanese dude and when I first met him, I was like, who is this guy? Because everybody kept talking, oh, you gotta go train with him. You gotta go train with him.
Mm.
And he was actually training the Guardian Angels at the time and in Toronto when they first came to Canada. And because I'm so cheap, I actually joined the Guardian Angels so I could train with him for free. So, long story short, like the first time I met him, I literally thought in my head, like this guy, there's no chance.
Mm.
There's no way this guy is the legend, that he is. And so I asked to do a private lesson with him, and he was like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "Oh, just I wouldn't mind boxing. I like to box. Can you box?" And he was like, "Yeah, I can box."
Mm.
And we're sitting there, and like there's nobody there, and I was just getting like really riled up because I was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna show
Mm.
this master."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, do you want a tea?" And I was like, "No, I don't want a tea. I want a box." He's like, and because he saw me, like he knew, he knew of me at that time
Mm.
when I was younger, and he knew that, I was a jerk.
Mm.
Um, so anyways, he puts on his gloves and he like kind of pops his mouth guard in and he goes, "Oh, okay, you ready?" And I remember stepping in and like waking up, looking up at the ceiling, and I was like, "Oh, I just got knocked out."
Oh, by the way,
And I kind of just see him standing over me, which was really terrifying. And I was like, "Hey, can I see what you did with your hands again?" And then for like an hour and a half, I was walking around the gate, right? So that was my introduction to Makoto Kabayama and Jeet Kune Do. And I trained with him for, I guess, about close to 20 years.
oh
So
wow, that's a long time. Oh wow.
yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like nobody moves like this guy, and just the stuff that he taught me, it was pretty awesome. And that opened the doors to, everything else, like all the other martial arts that I started training in.
Wow. So, so far as his status, is he still around? What's going on?
Oh yeah, he's still around.
Oh,
He's
still
still around.
active and teaching and the whole bit?
Still active. Yeah, he's God, I should remember this, but I don't. Like the guy is actually like a descendant of a samurai and all that. Like he's got like the family sword at home and yeah, yeah. So he teaches a lot of that stuff. I think more now than before.
He did maybe
Uh,
people. Yeah. Huh.
So I think this is maybe just the sign of the times, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
people are a lot more open to that.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Um,
evolution. You know what I mean? Huh.
but
Um,
like the Caballero Bushido-kan can trace its roots back to like 1640 or something like that. Like it's pretty crazy.
yeah.
And again, like this guy was like you see him and you're like, nah, okay. And then you see him move and you're like, holy crap.
Wow. So where's his
Yeah.
now? His lineage is it Anasano or?
Insano, I think he was the first PFS guy from out of
Oh, Vunak. Okay.
from
Yeah.
Vunak back in the day. So like
Okay.
I think he's the first Vunak guy to teach in Canada. And so I know it was Larry Hartzell as well, and Guru Dan as well.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, if he was teaching tonight, I mean, he had to be one of Vunak's first. I mean,
88, 1988.
he had to be. Yeah. I mean, that's when Vunak was starting to just get traction with PSF and the whole. Yeah. So. Um,
I would almost, I would dare to say, and I'm probably going to upset a lot of people by saying it, but that's kind of like the prime era. That's like when the
mm.
guys were monsters.
Yeah, I would agree with you, especially in the JKD world. Like, you look at it. I know I don't want to. Yeah, I got to be careful here. Like, I look what's coming out now to back then, and it's such a distinct difference. I mean, it's like, come
Oh
on,
yeah.
you know what I
Oh, and
mean?
this, and it just the God, and I tried, I tried to avoid the politics, especially, but let me rephrase that. I try to avoid them now.
Yeah.
But back then, like you had the nucleus, and then you had
Mm.
the other group, and then like this group is not allowed to use this JKD symbol anymore,
Uh,
and then just and it's like, man, like you know, as far as I'm concerned, Guru Dan's the guy, right? Like he's the guy that kept it going, and
yeah,
he's
who
the
was
guy
it?
who made
Yeah,
it evolve.
right. I mean,
So, when someone else says, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing it," it's like, well, who are you?
yeah, and the nucleus, what a disaster that turned out. What a disaster.
Yeah, that was a dumpster fire.
I mean, just you know what I mean? I mean, actually kind of
I
sad.
remember like they were sending out letters like saying you can't do this, you can't call yourself that. And it's just like that's what I remember. That's where we started kind of breaking off. We just called our group the JKD family,
Yeah.
and it was just a bunch of us that got to the under Makoto that kind of like an umbrella. And I think to be honest with you, that's what kind of started turning me off from the whole JKD thing. It was just the nonsense behind it.
I got turned off.
And
Yeah. I got my certification and then I saw what everybody was doing in reference points staying and then I saw FMA and I'm like, all right.
yeah, it, it's kind of the same thing for me because I went like I used to be terrified to go to that class. Like I literally I would sit on my motorcycle and just like try to talk myself into going into the class. I it would be like a 10-minute process of psyching myself up to go in because Makoto was training some monsters back then. Like just people
Yeah.
who were like just street guys who had no problem checking you if you get out of line.
Mm,
Which I needed at that time. And I
yeah.
think that's part of my own personal evolution. Um, and and then I stopped seeing it. I didn't see the same thing, and I don't know. It was just like not for me anymore. And the same thing. That's when I got more interested in the weaponry aspect of it.
Same here. It's kind of what happened with me. I just like like nobody like until I saw Steve Grody's material, and I'm sure there's others out there. I just don't want to say Steve. I'm sure there's others that are doing fantastic stuff. But he's the only one that made sense as far as bridging to the trapping. Like nobody really like I couldn't make heads or tails, and so I go up with a couple boxers, and I fell miserably. I just got like I got wrecked, like trying to
Yeah,
pull up these traps, and it was. And then when I saw Steve Grody's material, I'm like, oh, elicit a response. But nobody, yeah, you think they would that? I think that bridge was missing a lot. For me, anyhow, it was my experience. So when so it sounds like you 20 years. I mean, so obviously you got, what'd you do? Did you get the JKD/FMA kind of certification?
Yeah, I got that, Jikendo Concepts and Filipino Martial Arts certification,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
to me, I was like, okay, it's like, it's, you know, it didn't really, it's funny, like I have all these certifications and stuff, and I have no idea where they are. It's just, for me, it's my own personal journey, right? It's like I don't want to have it on
Yeah,
my wall or anything. It is
yeah,
what it
yeah.
is. And I kind of felt like I was cheating a little bit, especially when I got that the FMA part of it, because it wasn't really my cup of tea at first. And like
Mm,
here I am, a full instructor going to an Innisano seminar, and I'm look like I'm bringing an airplane in. Like I have no idea what I'm doing with my sticks.
I
And 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 it's like I was like, okay, I got to focus on this a little bit. And
yeah,
that's also, when I met Philip, it kind of turned things around for me a little bit, and I just
yeah,
really
because
started focusing on.
right, because he's been with him and all that. But it's funny, that was my first certification, and I've JKD and the slash. You get the Kali with it, and I was like really excited. I'm like, oh man, I'm ranked, man. Like ready to go. You know what I mean? But now I look back, I'm like, yeah, doesn't really, you know.
It's weird. Like I find that in a lot of things that I did back then, is I would bust my ass to get to the higher levels,
Mm.
and then when I got there, I'd be like, all right, see ya. It's just
Yeah, like
like
you got to the
it's
pinnacle and you're kind of like, I guess this
you
is it.
know. And that's when it comes to being a dog brother, I think that's the difference, is that when you become a dog brother, that's when it becomes harder, because you're literally walking around with a target on your back.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I got to keep this up, and I better learn how to change my game as I age or I get injured,
Mhm.
because like I don't plan on stopping.
Yeah.
Uh, so I've retired like maybe 7 or 8 times, but that's just to get people to stop talking to me about stuff.
So, all right. So you're at, okay. So you're in Toronto, you're doing there. I guess what led to the link where, um, before we get that famous, early in the morning email in 2006, but what led to, what led to the link where you met, Chuan Phillip?
So he was teaching at a training camp where I was teaching, and
Mm.
um, and it was like really refreshing, because like when you know all the people around you, you kind of expect what the material is gonna be.
Mm.
And like Philip's uh, Pikiti is a lot different than other people's Pikiti.
Okay.
Like he understands what he teaches, and I'm not saying other people don't. So please, I don't need
Yeah.
the hate
Yeah.
mail.
No.
Um, he understands the concepts, and he can explain what moves are,
Mm.
right? Like I see some people teaching, and they're like, "Oh, do this, and that's how you enter." Well, Philip will say, "Well, this is part of your entry, and now you move your feet." So he breaks it apart, and
Mm.
actually tells you how it works. So how does this work combatively, instead of just regurgitating what someone else told you?
Yeah.
When I remember when I used to do leg shots, he's like, yeah, bend your knees when you do a leg shot. And I said, okay, well, why? It's like, well, number one, you protect your cranium. And number two is, when you bend your knees, you can still engage your entire back when you hit. And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
tried it. And yes, it made sense. I could feel my whole engagement, all the muscles working as I hit. So, again, he was like a breath of fresh air, a very scary fresh air, but, fresh air nonetheless.
Mm.
Um, and then, like I said, there was that moment where there's that break in time where I kind of just said, to hell with martial arts. And
Mm.
I was just training on my own. And then obviously, I had my whiskey 3 a.m. story where I just wasn't ready to go yet. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
like uh, I love this stuff too much for me to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate it at the same time because of all the politics that come along with it. Like you were talking about your top 50 story. It's like, these are the people that I like. These are the people that influence me. If you don't feel the same thing, like who cares?
Or make your
Like
own list.
if I tell you my top 10 bands that I like and you don't like them, does that mean that I have a shit taste in music? It's like
No, or is
these are
it
the
you mean
people
that
that
it's going to create a divide between us? Because I mean, it's I know it's, but it does parallel like kind of what we touched upon yesterday. You see more of that element, unfortunately, come out of a particular segment of our community, whereas the other segment of our community, you don't hear, generally speaking, that stuff. You know what I mean?
it's weird.
So yeah,
I get
it's
I remember like in the and when the Dog Brothers first came out and those videos first came out, um, I didn't see anybody doing what the Dog Brothers were doing, and that's
I
just the
didn't either.
reality.
I didn't either.
And
Yeah.
and then it's only like in the last few years that I started hearing people saying, "Oh, we did it too." They kind of whisper it like, "Oh yeah, we were doing it way before you
Yeah, we were
guys."
doing. We just. I know. And
And again, because uh, I don't do martial arts for a living, so it allows me to speak my mind.
mm,
And I'll just say no, no, you didn't.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
did.
Just flat out. No, not really.
You you never did. And then when people say, "Well, you think that Dog Brothers are better than everybody else?" I'm like, "No, but we definitely were the first cats to do it."
Trend
Excuse
set.
me,
Look
dogs.
at the trend setting.
Hey,
The
listen,
influence.
what's that guy? What's that Navy SEAL's name? Jocko Wilkins. Like
Jocko.
he gave it. Yeah, he gave the Dog Brothers a shout out.
Yeah.
Like he's like, "Hey man, did you ever check out those original videos?" He goes, "Those guys bought it." It's like, so if you got a guy like that saying it, then you know.
Yeah. It was actually. Yeah. It's just. Wow. Wow. So when you okay. So at that camp, with two on Phil, you kind of take a break. You're sick of the politics,
Yeah.
and then one night you kind of get a motivation or an inspiration to like send this email out.
hmm
And now, prior to sending an email, did you do any contact stick with Two on Phil?
Um, so Phil would come to town from time to time, and I would kind of just like, and I'd find it through Makoto or some of the guys I was training with at the time, or I used to train with, and they'd be like, "Hey man, Phil's coming to town. Why don't you come and train?"
Hmm.
And so I'd show up, and it would just like it would keep the embers going, right? And then a couple friends of mine, I think I mentioned it yesterday, we were like, "Hey, let's get together and just like try this stick sparring, right?
Yeah.
Or stick fighting, never mind the sparring." And at first we didn't have, we didn't want to use real sticks. So we're using pipes with like, uh, what do you call it, plumber's installation over it,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
which you might as well just be hitting someone with a pipe anyways.
yeah.
And then at one point we just said, "Screw it, let's do this." And like I said, we didn't have masks or anything. And we literally fought every Sunday from like 9 a.m. till we stopped, till we couldn't go anymore.
Mm.
And it was literally like every Sunday. And at the time, I was bouncing as well, so I would finish work at 4 in the morning, and I would sleep outside my friend's house in my truck, and then we go. It was just it was just so it was just so true. There's a purity to it
Yeah, yeah.
because none of us really knew what the hell we were doing. And then one of the guys started. He went to go train with Guru Jun De Leon.
June Dion. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so then he started kicking our asses. So then it was like, okay, I gotta,
We
formulate a
gotta get
plan
some
here.
formal training here. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
because this is really starting to suck.
yeah.
Um, and then we got masks and stuff, and it just, it kind of was one of those things that it just kept me going. And then again, it just Um, Part of the issue was as things progressed and more people got involved, then again, you know as well as I do, someone's going to either want to branch off and do their own thing.
Mm,
And as soon as I kind of started seeing that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to pop smoke and I'm out.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and again, and I'm not saying I'm politics free because I definitely am very opinionated, and in the past I've gotten into a lot of arguments that were frankly not my business. I just kind of jumped in because it was my instructor. Um, but at that time, as I was starting to get older, I was like, yeah, I gotta go,
Yeah.
and I did.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think we all, a time or another, have taken like a mental break or whatever. I did. I sold my school and I checked out. I was off Facebook just like 3 years, checked out. I mean, I was still training and all that. I wasn't actively pursuing anybody. I was a student and all that, but definitely I was checked out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well,
You
it's
just,
hard, right? When you put so much, and that's the thing people like, need to understand too, is like nowadays you want to go train Pikiti, you can find that anywhere. You want to go train Krabi Krabong, you can find that pretty much anywhere as well now. Like Thai boxing, any of that stuff, that any of the stuff that you want to train, you
yeah,
can do this within your home. Like when I was training, if you wanted to train in some of this stuff, you're traveling.
yeah, no, no.
You know, you're hopping on an airplane, and or you're going to a different country. And I think that's why a lot of people, like some of the older guys I know, get so ticked off at the younger people coming up.
Because
Is
what they
that
had to go through. Yeah, I could see it. I
yeah,
can understand it.
and it's like you know, it's almost like we feel like it's a lack of respect because you got this for me for free, and I want to give it to you for free, but at least say thank you. You know, like I had
Yeah,
to, you know, like Matt Berry was saying the other day, like he would get on a bus for 18 hours.
which is
Like
yeah.
you know, some of my first flights, I would pick the most stops I could find so I can get the
The
cheapest
cheapest.
ticket.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm traveling for like 20 hours, crossing the U.S. or Europe to go and train with somebody, and it's like a 4 hour flight, right? And just grateful that I can sleep on their couch or at their school, you know.
It's true. Like in 2002, like I did the weekend thing with Mark Denny,
Hmm.
and it's true. Like I had to fly. I had a couple layovers, man. You getting out there, and but like much to your point, what you're saying now, guys now they just turn on a computer, jump in a Zoom class, and I'm not saying that's bad or anything, but much to your point, I think I think they lose sight of what like guys like you went through. You know what I mean? And
It's just, yeah, and I think that's why, like I didn't really rank people um, at first. I just wanted to see if they show up. We spoke about this yesterday. Like people tell me all the time, I want to train with you, I want to do this, I want to do that, and my answer was okay.
Hmm.
And it's not until they actually show up at my door that I'll take them seriously.
Yeah, right.
And that's the same way Philip was with me. It's the same way Arlen was with me. Um, you know, uh, Jason Webster, same thing. He beat the tar out of me just because he wanted to make sure that I actually want to do this.
Mm,
And I recognize that's kind of like the old school way of doing it, and some people might not like it. But I'll tell you one thing: the quality of training I got was phenomenal. Right?
yeah,
Because once people trust you, they'll just give you everything.
yeah. Once they know that you endured this painful beginning, I had that with that one instructor. But when they know you're vested, man, like you much your point, now it starts coming. Yeah, so I don't know. I think there's something to that. To be honest, but most I guess in our community are not going to be doing that. I don't know if I had to guess.
No, no, and there's this weird kind of like weird split that's happening now, and I find that not everybody wants to fight, and I don't. It is what it is. Like I'm cool with that. Like you
Mm,
do you do you sort of thing. But don't tell me that you're fighting when you're sparring. And this is something that's always been kind of like bothering me because like I find
mm,
that this group's getting together now saying we're gonna get together to fight, and they're sparring, and then it's like they don't want to do it, but because they're all in this group together, they can call it that, right? And
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I hope I make myself clear with that. It bugs the hell out of me. It
No, no, I
just
know exactly what you're talking about. Like what you guys are doing at those gatherings, man, that is fighting. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, understood. Where some like and where folks are getting together, and maybe they are sparring, whatever they're doing, but label it what it is, and just and that's fine. Like I totally agree with you. Hey, if this is what makes you happy, and then I mean, yeah, absolutely. Do what makes you
do it.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like, what the hell am I to say we should or shouldn't do? Um, but when they project, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I've had a lot of people do that, and I've seen a few websites, and again, I'm of no importance as far as in the bigger picture. But when I see people like take a picture with me and then they post it on their group page saying, "Oh, we fight and we have this, and we have that," and I'm in that website. Like I'm picking phones up. I'm like, "Hey, take my picture down."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, remember the World of Stick Fighting people, the guys that had that glass dome or whatever the hell it was.
Who was that
Um,
now?
they, the this World of Stick Fighting or some I don't know what the hell they were called, but those bozos came to a couple of gatherings and a couple beat the crap out of cancers, and they took pictures of the fighters and then they posted on their website. And when I called them on it, I was like, "Hey, man, like maybe you should ask first, and then
Mm.
maybe I can decide whether I want to be a part of this." And then when I asked them, like, "What kind of training do you do?" And then like, "Well, I've never trained before." Okay, so this is just a business for you. So like kindly take my picture down,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh.
and they didn't.
At least they did that. I mean, yeah, I know some people. Yeah, it's like the whole martial arts. Like you assume just by virtue of ethics, moral compass, what martial arts respect, and all that people are going to do the right thing. But then you sadly you learn like, no, some of them are not. You know what I mean? They're just it's
I always get blown away when people want to get into martial arts to make money. Like it's a very small piece of pie,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and you definitely have to kind of change the way you think. A
yeah.
lot of the old martial arts instructors that I knew when I was younger that were like, F that guy and oh, this is the way we do it. Never gonna teach kids. Now we're doing that because they have to make a living, right?
Yeah,
And
if
I
you have a
can't fault them for it.
goal, I mean, like if you don't have kids, I mean, with the exception of Dan and Asano and a few others, I mean, like if you don't have kids, man, it's gotta be tough, right? I mean, it's gotta be, unless you're in your house, you have zero overhead, and I don't know, and you got a certain amount of students. But other than that, any place you're renting, all that, if you don't have kids, I mean, that's gonna be a tough bill.
Yeah, then you start like teaching stuff that you would never in your life teach.
And
I
then
found that.
because yeah, I almost have empathy. Like I get they have to make a living. I really do, and I understand that. I really do. I really do. But that's got to be a tough rope, man, or yeah, a tough thing because like you have to obviously to make a living because you don't know what else to do. But at the same time, you're doing things that in a perfect world you wouldn't do or teach. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
I think
Yeah.
I think you and I talked about that briefly in a private conversation where, times of peace bring out the worst in martial arts.
Yeah.
And I kind of look at it as like when I was first being taught Krabi Krabong, like they were saying like a soldier or a general would go to a village in Thailand and say the Cambodians are 3 days away. I'm going to teach you a bunch of stuff, and if you survive, I'll teach you something else. Like it was like bare bones combat. Like this is
Mm.
what you're going to do. And then in times of peace, people are like, okay, well, I got to make a living. So, yeah. So when a guy throws a rock, you pick up that pigeon. It's just like you start making all this shit
And
up
here's five
because,
variations off the pigeon where you can move.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to give you 64 attempts to learn today. It's like, uh, and before I pissed any, PTK people off, yes, I made a reference to that because, listen, and I was a PTK guy as well, but when I watch a lot of fights, there's maybe 4 or 5 angles, not 64 of them, that I've seen being used properly. And I
You're not the
know,
first
let the
one
hate,
that.
let the hate mail start.
Now, but
Um,
that's come out indirectly before on this show. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's that's come up. So
And and I think that's the problem is like I got been to seminars where I can just look at the guy and say, this dude is making it up as he's going along. You
yeah,
know?
that's true.
And and again, like we touched on this yesterday a little bit. For me, when I teach a seminar, um, I have a concept in my head or something that I've used before in a fight, and then we work it until it works for you, or you can take an aspect of it. I don't sit there and give you 30 things, play a drum,
Uh,
and tell you how good I am. And I want people, if people have never sparred before, by the time they finish, a seminar that I'm teaching, it will feel like you fought, and that's what I want. I want it to be scary. I don't want you to be comfortable in my classes.
yeah,
My jokes are bad enough, but it has to be. It's gonna be. It's gonna suck, and oddly enough, people like it.
that's great. Yeah, I mean that's no, I can see why. So okay, so you got your band of guys there. You're busting
Mhm.
each other with pipes and that. And now you take another kind of mental break, and then you send that email out, 2006, which
Mhm.
opened basically the
The-
beginning, I'm going to assume, of the journey, right?
That's when the floodgates kind of opened up.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So, you know, Philip had some people that were bringing him here, but they kind of stopped, so I kind of took that over. And then I brought Mark Denny down as well. And it was really cool to see the different dynamics. It's like my goal was to, again, the 18-year-old in me was like, I want to meet as many original Dog Brothers as possible.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to, and if I have the opportunity, I want to fight as many of them as possible.
Okay.
And again, this is coming from someone who has no business fighting a full dog brother at this point. And so I met Mark Denny. Um, that was actually a really funny experience because like he came to Toronto and I picked him up at the airport and we went for dinner and I had one of my students with me and we're just sitting there chatting and he's like, okay, so what do you train in? And I was like, well, I don't really train that much, but this is what I used to do. He goes, well, have you ever seen this video? And I was like, nope. He goes, have you ever seen this video? And I'm like, no. He goes, do you own any of my videos? I go, I think I have a copy of one somewhere. And he was like, well, what am I doing here? And I'm like, you're just here to see if I like you. And then and then we can kind of go from there. And, like in the beginning, Mark and I got along quite well. And, we had many, many seminars here. And then what he was teaching is DBMA. I kind of mixed that with what Philip was doing, which is the PTK, which I became a bit more serious in because I really um, there's something about the PTK that Philip teaches, and I have to say from Philip because he's my main experience with it. It's really combative. Like there's
Mm.
a real fire in there, and that really appealed to me. So I would if he wasn't doing a seminar here at that point, I was driving to Montreal every 6 weeks just to train with him.
Okay.
And and I guess he really appreciated that because yeah, he charged me bare minimum, and if I wasn't sleeping at his school, he would let me crash at his house, which to me that's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Just to make it affordable for you and all that. Yeah.
yeah, and then then I just started like showing up at the gatherings. Um, Before I was even a dog, I had called Mark and I asked Phil's permission if I can go to the second tribal that they ever had at the horse ranch up in Temecula. And that's where I became dog. That was God, that was 2008, 2009, I think,
Mm.
or 2007. I'd have to check. Um, uh, but that was like an eye-opening experience because everybody there was like super high-level fighters, right? Like people from Europe, like Benjamin was there, and like they just kicked my ass, and it was beautiful. Like I went home with two broken fingers and a couple broken ribs, and I was like, this is great. Yeah, I'm like I got so much to work on, right? Like I just got my ass handed to me. This is what I need to work on for the next little while, and
Hey, just for the folks though that are watching, so it goes dog candidate, full dog
mhm,
brother. Am I
that's
correct?
correct.
So for
That's right.
dog, what is the criteria for dog? So
So it basically is show up
okay.
and fight. And if you think you're gonna show up and just fight some other guy and people are gonna pay attention, they're not. Like if you want the attention or if your goal is to one day get into the Dog Brothers organization to become a full dog, you gotta fight the scary people. Because you need to get better.
Mm,
And there's no real number for how many gatherings you go to become a dog candidate or anything else.
okay.
But generally, by second, third gathering, if you are fighting and fighting hard, you'll become a dog. So in Canada, what we've kind of implemented is the um, regardless of when you become a candidate,
Mm,
you have to travel in order to become a full dog brother because all the people before you did it.
gotcha.
And everybody who's traveled outside of Canada to go fight at a gathering has said it was like, a life-changing experience because, like I remember when my first gathering, I was on an airplane by myself. Like I'm going to the US, I'm going to LA, and I'm by myself. And if I get hurt, it's my problem. And
Mm,
there's a reality about that, it makes it, to me, it makes it mean so much more,
yeah.
right? It's not like you just show up and here's your pass and you're a dog rep.
Right.
And so in Canada, it's about 6 gatherings before you become a full dog, as long as you travel, but it's not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed. So the can so in between the candidate, if I'm not mistaken, that's where you actually will get your name. Is that correct?
Yeah. So um, when you become candidate, you can pick your own name.
Okay.
I let I let Philip choose my name, and I was like, man, Philip's got a really bad sense of humor as well. And I was
Mm,
just waiting for some, like really good goofball name or something.
yeah.
But he chose Growling Dog.
That's pretty good though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess Super Fun Happy Dog didn't fit the bill at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pleasant dog. It's
Yes, it's the happiest dog alive, dog.
it's smiley dog.
Yeah, so that's how it kind of works
Uh,
with us. And
okay.
again, it's um, some places are different.
Mm,
Like I think I remember like Sean Zerger, he went to an open gathering and then he went to a tribal and he became a candidate. Like he literally leaped over the dog part. But it
was that
still
due
took
to
him
prior
6.
experience or the amount of fights he did, or
I think just he's a good fighter, right?
yeah,
So and but in the end, it still took 6 gatherings to become a full dog.
yeah, right. So that's the rule of thumb. Okay, six.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, and I think that was 2012 in Germany,
yeah.
if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Wow, 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 wow. So you're okay. So you're going out there, and we had that funny story about that guy that you suckered right there, man. And actually, for the folks that that should be told again. I just think that was just priceless. So you're going
All right.
there. So your first, I mean, honestly, I'm sure you're nervous. You don't know what to expect. I mean, what's going on?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of really funny things that happened at my first gathering. One was there's a guy giving away water, and it was some promotion, and it was like a hyper caffeinated water, which I didn't know. So I got chugged this thing down, and then I couldn't hear anybody because my heartbeat was so loud. But yeah, so my first gathering, I showed up a little bit early, and I kind of helped set up the mats, kind of feel things out. And there's this dude that showed up, and you could tell he was cherry picking his fight, right? So he was like,
Mm.
he's sandbagging, he's looking for like the easy fights and stuff. And um, again, for the people that know me, they know this is the stuff that I would normally do, but my sense of humor. I grabbed a stick and I sat at the side of the mat and I just started doing like crazy angles, just erratic stuff, and like just ridiculous footwork just to kind of like sell it. And it was like chumming the water. Like he just ran up and he's like, "Hey, you're moving pretty good." I was like, "Thanks, man. I watched all these videos and I'm so excited to be here." And I was really selling it. Like I was just like, this is like it's a dream come true.
But here, Rene, my only question is not to sorry to interrupt you. Like, how were you aware of this guy? Like, how did you
Oh,
even know
because
it was him? Like,
I was watching him like
okay,
pick. He was like literally just like picking people, right? He would
I
look at a
got you.
guy. He'd walk up. It's like, "Hey, how many fights you been in? How many gatherings?" And again, like I'd rather get the shit kicked out of me by someone really good and do decent defending myself
Yeah,
than to fight someone who's never done this before and look like a total idiot, right? But I guess this guy was more into the, I'm the guy. And so long story short, he was like, "Yeah, you and I should fight." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I think that'd be great." Like I was kind of giving him a boost. Yeah. the like Tourette's with a stick sort of thing.
oh my god,
And
I would have been dying.
and like unbeknownst to me, like War Dog, uh, Mike, Mike Barreto and Pappy Dog saw me
Yeah,
doing this.
yeah,
Yeah, and Philip already talked to them, so they knew I was coming up.
yeah.
Like they knew who I was. They just hadn't like come up and said anything, right? Because at an open gathering, it's just like um, there's you talk to people and stuff, but it's not time to make friends, right?
Mm.
It's friends at the end of the day, not during sort of thing. So they knew what I was doing. They saw me baiting the guy. And I remember when I saw the guy turn around, like there was a mirror and I could see him smiling. And I remember turning around, like my mouth was watering. It's like, gotcha,
Oh my
And
god,
and I think part of it too is, it was kind of like a bully move on his part, and it really pissed me off.
absolutely. It's a punk move. Yeah, you run
And
to somebody. Yeah.
so we had the last fight of the gathering, and which is weird to me because he saw me. I guess he maybe didn't see me fight the other fights that I had, right?
As I said,
Um,
yeah.
so uh, long story short, Mark says any more fighters, and he points at me like he's like this guy that I'm talking about. And I was like, okay, okay. And I'm like, I'm grabbing my helmet. And I remember just like putting it on, putting my mask on, and just like this like weird kind of feeling came over me, right? I was like, okay, this is really gonna happen. And we tapped sticks, and I ran backwards as fast as I could. And he just kind of looked at me and he started chasing me. And then I just changed directions and started running at him. And I did like a zigzag step. And my
Okay.
last step, I grabbed my wrist and I did this like, Eric Knaus,
Yeah, now
like,
the twin
yeah,
backhand. Yeah, yeah.
as hard as I possibly could. And then I heard what sounded like a baseball bat hitting a ball. And I saw a mask fly. And then nothing was really registering. And then like I put my hands up. Like it's like
Like,
because I saw this mask fly and I saw a dude doing the dance and he hits the ground and he's out.
wow.
And he comes to and he's got like it looked like a conjoined twin on the side of his head, and he's trying to like be cool about it. It's like, yeah, well, you know, the way you got, like, you know, he's trying to explain to me how I just got him. And in the picture, which I got to send you, I'm standing beside him with my arm, and it looks, he's not even looking at the camera. He's like
he's
the camera's over
he's
here.
like an ozone layer. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he is
capable.
somewhere else. And
Yeah.
then like literally right after, like Mike Barreto walked up to me, goes, "Wow, that was an asshole move, dude." And I was like, "What?" He goes, I saw what you did." Because it was funny as hell, but that was an asshole move. And then Nick came up to me and we had a good laugh about it and went to the pub afterwards and drank 7,000 beers. But um, that's kind of like my introduction to like the NoHo clan, right? Like they kind of accepted me after that. So whenever I was coming down, I wasn't alone anymore. I can go and hang out with them or crash at their
Mm.
apartments or train with them, right? So yeah, that was my first gathering.
So how were your so I did definitely how were your fights before that the guy there?
They were pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
Um, um, I'm trying to remember. One of my stick fights, I lost my stick, and I ended up. It's the first in my life I actually pulled off a straight blast,
Oh, you
and
came right down the pike, huh?
yeah, right. I just straight blasted this guy into a wall. And then, because the fights were like 2 minutes, but if Mark likes what he sees, they keep going. And I don't know how long this fight was going on for, but I had nothing left in the tank. And at one
Mm.
point, I was like, had the guy against the wall, and I looked up and he headbutted me. So that's when I learned to, like, don't look up just because you think
Yeah,
the fight's over.
yeah.
Um, and then one of my other fights, it was pretty cool. I actually got to do like a hip throw on somebody, and I got on the floor and managed to mount and just do a little ground and pound sort of thing. Um, overall, I think
Sounds like it
when I
went
look at
well.
it, it went well.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like the biggest learning experience that I ever had because you're finally allowed to take the safeties off, right?
Mm.
Like you don't have when I first started training in FMA, everybody I met or my instructors like, oh, if you ever hit somebody with this, they'll kill them. Um, no, it won't kill them. It'll hurt them a lot, but it won't kill them.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so it just gave me so much fuel to go back to the lab. Like I remember flying back to Canada and I was just like crazy excited about all the stuff I get to work on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then like calling Philip up and like, hey, remember that thing that you taught me? Yeah, well, it worked, but I had to try this. And like then we're like bouncing ideas off each other, right? And it's just like what a cool thing to be involved in, to have, you know, two people bond over that, about how to change things around and how to make it work for you, right? It was pretty crazy. It was
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
yeah. And this was so when you finally was that like 206, 207 your first?
No, so I think I mixed up my dates a little bit
Hmm.
because I did a bunch of seminars before I actually went to a gathering. So my first gathering was in 2008,
Okay.
and then and yeah, and I became a dog brother in 2010, I think.
Oh wow.
Um,
So you were I mean you were jamming in the fights then.
yeah, I was. Well, what started happening is I got obsessed with it, just like anything else that I do in the beginning. I just get, and then all my students, all of a sudden, I was like, hey guys, I know we do JKD, but guess what? We're gonna stick fight, and
Mm.
we're gonna stick fight a lot, and we did, and it just became like just something I really wanted to work on,
Yeah.
and the big thing for me is I started looking at what was missing in my stick fighting, and for me it was I'm not kicking people enough. I'm not elbowing people enough because my Muay Thai background. And I'm like, I gotta figure out how to add this concept into my fighting. And
Mm.
then that's when I heard about, Arlen. And because I didn't know that Arlen did um what's it called? Krabi I just thought he was another FMA guy, right?
Right, right, right. So how? Okay, so yeah, we can, before we go into we can go into that. So how that come about? Like you were between
So
you.
I held a training camp in 2009, and then I held another one in 2012.
Okay.
And in 2012, I was already a full dog, and I met Arlen, and again, I was very ignorant when it came to Krabi Krabong. Ignorant on many many ways, because when I first saw it, I was like, "What is this garbage?" You know, like, what is this like? What is this dancing around thing? You know, it's like, this just looks ridiculous.
Mm.
And and after he beat the tar out of me, I was like, it goes back to, my first instructor, or Makoto,
Mm.
when he beat me up. And then I started looking beyond the dances and the cultural stuff,
Got it.
and how he took the fighting part of it and
Mm.
applied it to his stick fighting. And the one thing that I learned from him, it's like, okay, when you study Kirby, or anything that I study, it's not that I don't become a Kirby fighter.
Right.
I just use that aspect in my fighting.
Okay.
I was telling you yesterday, I was teaching at a training camp in Spain, and someone asked me, well, how I became a Kirby fighter. I'm like, I didn't. I'm a stick fighter. If I have a chair in my hand, I'm not a chair fighter.
Yeah.
If I have a rock in my hand, I'm not a rock fighter.
Mm.
If I have a rooster in my hand, anyway. So uh,
Yeah.
uh, you know, I'm a dude in a fight that just happens to have a stick in it.
Gotcha.
And that's it. Now, the more stuff you have, that's better for you, right?
Yeah.
So um, that's kind of like so that's how I got into Krabi, because I love kicking, and I love kneeing, and I love elbowing, and I find those things can stop fights very, very quickly. But
Mm.
the hard part is, if you have a good stick fighter, it's really hard to time that to get in there and do
To
that.
bridge the gap here. And I don't claim to know about, but I did have Arlen on. So it seems like you guys will put guys in double jeopardy. In other words, I'm going to swing the stick, but I'm also going to throw the tie kick at you. Now you need to basically choose, assuming that you're in range, you need to choose which one, I guess, you're going to deal with.
Yeah, which one are you least likely? Which one do you not want to eat?
Yeah,
You know,
right. Okay.
um, yeah, and then that's definitely the way he likes to fight. And also remember, like when he fights, especially the last times that he and I fought, like his sticks, I forgot when at home, but his sticks were pointy. It's like, so if you miss, like, or if you don't block, it's really, really gonna suck for you.
Wow.
Well,
That's just
listen, I'm not claiming I'm a smart individual, and it's definitely,
I tell you how to play this light bulb.
you know, as a carpenter, it's probably the stupidest thing you can do. But it's the same thing. Like, for a while, I stopped wearing gloves, and there's a picture I sent you where I'm putting on my socks, and there's a camera like on me.
Yeah.
And when I was putting my socks on, and I looked at my hands, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm not wearing gloves." And then I realized I'm not wearing my mouth guard. And then I realized I'm not even wearing a cup. Like, it just, I was just so excited to get out there that I just literally ran out. And then, I fought like that, and it was terrifying.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it made me really move, right?
Yeah, you're like, you
Um,
got no groin protection, you got no gloves, you got no mouthpiece, man. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and I
yeah.
think I started wearing, like, batting gloves again, and I do wear a mouth guard and a cup, because those things are important to me.
Yeah.
Um, um, it changes the game completely, right? Like,
Mm.
when Eric Knauss fights, he just has light gloves on, and
Yeah.
God help you if you try to hit those hands, because he's gonna murder you. Like,
Mm.
in 2009 at the training camp, I walked away, and I mean walked away with two broken ribs, from our exchange, and it was terrifying. Not only because he's Eric, right? Like, he's a 6 foot 4 individual that can turn to 2 feet in 2 seconds.
Mm,
But his like the way he moves is like it's crazy. It's insane.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I that's terrifying. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, jeez, man.
And before
So,
we fought, sorry, before Eric and I fought, like he had his mask kind of half on, and all those old guys have like the old mask, like they literally pull them apart and then they put them on because there's like these like century-old masks.
yeah.
And I remember like Eric had his mask kind of like over his head, and he's just staring at me. He goes, Rene, it's my duty as your friend to hit you as hard as I possibly can. And then he put his mask on. And I swear to God, I was like, I think I just peed myself. I was like, that's that was pretty intense.
I can't. That's wow. Yeah, I can't even. Oh man. And so, all right. So then you're doing the whole thing with Arlen and all that. And so okay. This is great stuff. Great stuff. So obviously you're further progressing in that. Um, Somebody saying your shirt.
Oh,
Like,
that's from
oh,
the
okay.
uh,
Okay.
that's from the surf camp that I taught at.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Fraggle
Um,
Dog.
so, so not obviously if you don't have to incorporate the Kabikabong. If it's something you want to dive into, then you would at a gathering you would see somebody else that obviously who trains in it, and then is that kind of how it works?
Like if someone come up to me and says I want to have a Krabi Kabong fight, I would tell them I would say no. I'm here to stick fight. Um, I want to just fight, and if what's left of my brain cell says this is a good place for you to do a 3 count strike, then I'll do that. The closest I ever came to having a traditional, or not even traditional, like a strictly Krabi Kabong fight was when I fought Arlen.
Okay.
Um, and that's when he knocked me, out. Um, and that's where I really kind of like decide to I'm gonna play this game. But
I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah. All right.
but if um, if you and I spar or if you and I fight, it's just gonna be a stick fight. It's gonna be a
Right.
stick
You're going
fight
to
where
incorporate tactics
I'm gonna
from. Yeah.
yes.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna
Gotcha.
incorporate whatever I can from it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah. I
Okay.
don't want to limit myself to that because then I'm boxing myself in, and then
I got
I
you.
don't feel it's a fight anymore, right?
I got you. Okay. Yeah. But if like you went that one time with Arlen. Okay. Um.
Yeah, and I tried. There's some things that I did in there which were not, Kirby Cabrong esque. Um, but it's almost like I felt like he forced me into it because of his structure. His structure is very Kirby Cabrong, very forward, very,
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
like, and when he comes in full power. And if you're not ready for that, like you will either your sticks are going to break or your sticks are going to collapse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, he's really good at that kind of stuff, hitting people really, really.
Yeah. Hitting people really, really hard. Jeez. So you touched on it yesterday, and I thought it was kind of an inspiring way that you guys got this going. So beat the crap out of cancer, 2009. So you and a couple other
Mhm.
folks
Yeah,
came up with it.
yeah. So, like I said yesterday, I was kind of getting tired of watching our guys beat each other up.
Mm,
So I thought maybe we can, and this all happened in 2 weeks. So we October 9th, 2009. We I literally just got on the horn, and again, Rene only sleeps 3 hours a night. So I'm sending emails to everybody I can, like any weak half person I come across, anybody.
yeah.
And we had 48 or 52 fighters show up for this event, and it was pretty crazy because we were expecting like maybe like 5 guys from Montreal, right?
Mm,
So people from Ottawa came in, then people from Montreal came in, and And they were doing like, people had pads on, they were doing the padded fights and everything was cool. And then Tyler, I just turned to Tyler, I'm like, let's show them what Dog Brothers do. And we had like a drag out brawl, right? Just like, and then you start seeing people start taking some of their equipment off. It's like, hey,
Mm,
can I borrow your mask? So it was, to me, it was a really cool thing because it was like we're the same people. We want to do the same things. We just have to be um, take the blinders off sometimes and allow us,
yeah.
or our teachers have to allow us to kind of like, explore these things.
You
Um,
have a good point there, and I brought this up before in shows. Sometimes if the students are not given the opportunity or exposed to the opportunity or led to the opportunity or encouraged the opportunity, sometimes I just don't think they're going to do it. And perhaps they really might want to do it. It's just hasn't been presented to them. So these folks that you mentioned that went there, like they're seeing this, there's really they don't have to answer to anybody, so they can naturally go to you guys, say, hey, like, hey, I would like to try this and all that is where they probably never had the opportunity. You know what I mean?
my motto is always the more the scarier.
Yeah.
Like let's just get together. Beat the crap out of cancer was an event with no flags, no colors,
Mm,
and they just show up. Like I don't care who you train with. I don't care how good your instructor is. I don't care about any of that shit. Let's just get together
yeah.
and have fun
Yeah.
and play, and the more we play, the more people actually want to, like Craig Mason, uh, who I think you know as well, is out of
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
so when he showed up there, he had his like the week half kimono and everything else. The guy's a candidate dog brother now. You know what I mean? Like it's just he grew. Just he
Mm,
grew. He evolved into other stuff.
that's awesome.
Um, and then we had Hema people who showed up, and I hear that other beat the crap out of cancer events now are doing jujitsu and boxing, and I think that's kind of like where I want to see it evolve, anyways. Where it's a day of fighting, not
Mm,
necessarily stick fighting, but getting the fighting community together. Like when I used to teach at certain gyms, and uh, the the jujitsu guys would be staring at you like, "What's the hell is that guy doing?" Or
yeah. We, yeah. Yeah.
and the Thai guys are like, "What are those guys doing?" It'd be just so much easier to get everybody together, and like God knows what that would evolve into, right? Like
You
it's
can imagine.
like,
Yeah.
hey,
I know.
I'd love to see two jujitsu guys grappling with a stick in their hands. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I totally
stuff
agree.
like. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think the evolution is there. I just the main thing for me is just to make sure that it's still the main reason is to raise money
Yeah.
and to build a community instead of separating it. Which unfortunately, I've said this before. There's always people who want to be the man or whatever and start their own stuff. Unfortunately, that's the poison in our community.
Yeah, my interest is definitely one in Connecticut, but I want to just in line what you guys created. Like, I don't need to be a man. I think it's just a great cause to raise money, awareness, and bring folks together, which Connecticut significantly needs,
Hmm.
and all that. So, yeah, like I have no interest of like branching out or no, I would just basically fall in line with the original creation, original idea, and what was meant for.
It was pretty cool. I was teaching a seminar at a Thai school, and I'd say about 80% of the people there have never held a stick before in their hand.
Mm,
And when I was doing some of the Thai dances and stuff, they're like, "Oh, where does that come from?" I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
Muay Thai? That's pretty much the empty hands version of this." It's just, and it's just you see their like, their little light bulb goes on. It's like, bing, oh, this.
yeah,
And to me, like weapons uh, fighting brought out my footwork like crazy when it came to boxing.
yeah,
Um, so I was like, man, like try this out. You might like it.
yeah.
Like there's a bunch of MMA guys now that are training that are
Nice.
training with me. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's funny, like I was mentioning the seminar in Finland, apparently there's a bunch of like former MMA guys that now have taken up stick fighting. So, that's going to be a real painful seminar for me, but I'm looking forward to it.
I know you got MMA guys, tone, condition, in shape
Yeah.
now, and probably younger, injured free,
Yeah.
or whatever. I mean,
I'm showing up with my 13th cup of coffee and they're drinking their chlorophyll saying, you got ready?
yeah. And they're like in their 20s and 30s and buff, and
Oh, yeah. And they're like, yeah. And like I said, I don't really sleep. So I show up to these things sometimes,
yeah.
you know, or, when I was saying yesterday, there was gatherings where um, my tradition was to go out the night before with everybody and we stroll in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then at 7, we go fight. And, yeah, yeah, it was stupid. It was so stupid. Like I remember like just like showing up with like a coffee, my sunglasses are all crooked, my shirt's on backwards. And I could see like, Mark out of the corner of his eye kind of like shaking his head and just kind of walking away.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what I used to like to do at that time.
Yeah, then you get wow, jeez. So far as like what would you like what's your future like what would you love to see far as beat the crap at it? Like what would you like to see not only maybe like in more frequency or like what are your goals for it like to see it grow?
I wouldn't want to see too much frequency.
Okay.
I think what happens is when it comes to frequency, and I'll have to go back to this. This is what happened to us in Toronto. Like Larry Hartzell was coming up every 6 months,
Mm,
and then people started saying, "Catch him next time." You know what I mean?
yeah.
So when you know that a gathering is only once a year, or beat the crap is only once a year, then you really work to make sure that you're there, sort of thing. Right? So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
um, that's my own personal opinion. There's nothing to say that you can't have like sub events saying, "Hey, this is how we're gonna prep for beat the crap out of cancer. We're gonna get together on
Mm,
such and such a time, or every 3 weeks, so we can start training." So we go there, we don't gas out the first 3 seconds.
gotcha.
Um, um, growth, we had like such a huge growth for such a long time, and it's weird to think that we've been going for 13 years. And at one point we had we would have over 100 fighters show up, and then it kind of dwindled down to like 20 something. Um, I think the growth I want to see is the new blood and getting more people involved.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the only way we can do it is to open it up more than just stick fighting.
BJJ, MMA, yeah. Yeah. What's the current okay, so current status quo scheduling. Does it bounce around geographically once a year or twice a year? What's status quo?
For beat the crap, it's usually like it's one event, but it's multiple locations. Um,
Gotcha.
and it's not just one place. Like I had plans to start to have another beat the crap here, but as you know, I got injured. Um, I'm just learning to walk again, which has been
Mm,
amazing, a lot of fun. Um, so that kind of put that out of the out of the running. And then this like other political bullshit that's been going on, which I'm trying to stay out of it, and I'm trying not to get too pissed off about it. But it is what it is. So the goal for next year is I have a venue for next year already, and there's a bunch of people that want to start it up again in Europe, and then and just make it grow. I think that's the big thing is it's hard. It's a hard sell, right? It's a hard sell to tell somebody I
mm.
want to take your school over for a day, and you're not
Yeah,
going to make any money that day, but
no,
we're
I
going to give the money that we
know.
make to someone else.
No, I know. I know. Like you have to like everything coming in is gonna go to the yeah, to choice of charity or recipient. Yeah.
Especially after COVID, right? A lot of people are hurting big time.
Yeah, the schools are just getting back to like, breaking even or whatever. Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about quite a bit. I don't have all the answers yet, but we'll see what I can come up with. And
Yeah.
again, it's having strong group leaders, like Matt, because he wants me to give him a shout out. So I'll give him another shout out now. So Matt Barry, if you're
Hmm.
listening, shout out for you. And Nick Papadakis and Loki and the gang in Vancouver and Philip. It's good to have those guys all there and help promote it, but we got to find a way to make this more palatable for the rest of
I
us.
think that's going to be it. I think you're right. I think you're on the right track. Just let others come in that they're let them MMA, BJJ, and then by virtue of seeing other stuff, they might, hey, wow, I mean, I want to check that out. You know what I mean?
It's a hard go. Stick fighting is a hard sell to begin with, so why not sweeten it with something else
Yeah.
and see if we can mix it up. Um, I tried doing the whole um, like Doug Marcato was one of the few people that went out there and would what's it called promote the event. Some of the other like celebrity types that I've contacted, like they wanted money. I remember I was speaking with
Mm.
somebody, and you'll have to excuse my language on this one, but um, I spoke to somebody. I'm like, hey man, like I really would like for you to help me promote this. And we had this discussion, and they started asking me for money. And basically, at the end, it was like, hey, I got this crazy idea. And the guy's like, well, what is it? I'm like, well, why don't you go fuck yourself? Because I'm not giving you any money. And uh, we are going to, and the guy was like staring at me like completely shocked. Like, did this guy just talk to me like that? I'm like, you're just a human being, like,
They've some, I
and
know, how they forget that,
yeah. Well, it's something I said at another podcast once. Like, I think the biggest disappointments I had sometimes is meeting some of my heroes
and then they
because
really be, uh-huh.
oh, and I think like the people that I met that are that were not disappointing. I was actually blown away because I was expecting them to be different.
Yeah.
Like I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but I remember when I first met Guru Dan, we had a bit of a chat, and then like 2 years later when I was hosting him, he's like, "Hey Rene, how you doing?" And I was like, I wasn't like, "Oh my God, he remembers me." I was like, "Man, what a polite individual." He actually
Yeah, yeah.
remembered my name. It wasn't because I was special. Man, that guy's just fucking polite.
Yeah, yeah. The guy's just polite.
Hey, you want to hear a really funny Guru Dan story?
Sure.
So, Philip was hosting Guru Dan, and at lunchtime we all went out, and we're all sitting down. There's a bunch of new guys that have never been to a Guru Dan seminar. And so I said, "Hey guys, what are you guys bringing tomorrow for Guru Dan's when he leaves?" And one of the guys goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, it's Filipino custom. Then when someone leaves, you give them fruit." And so a couple of my friends caught on. So one guy's like, "I'm gonna bring a watermelon." I was like, "Oh, I was gonna bring a watermelon, so I guess I'll bring a pineapple." So this dude was freaking out because he thought he had to bring Guru Dan some fruit. So at the end of the seminar, this guy walks up to Guru Dan with a bag of apples and he puts it over his head and he just kind of like stands there holding the bag of apples in front
Oh
of
my
Guru Dan.
God.
So Guru Dan like grabs his a bag of apples like, "Oh, thanks," and he just like starts handing out. And this person who I will not name because he still hates me because of it. He just kind of walked up. He was like, "Man, like you're such an asshole." So
That is
it was awesome. It was like there's like 200 people there, and here's this one dude with a bag of apples,
just
like
holding a
kneeling,
bag of apples
literally.
over his head.
Like almost like doing the mano, and he's got
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
bag of. over his head, like, please accept this gift of apples for your
Except
journey
these
home.
bag of apples.
Oh,
That is, man. So, all right. So, at what point did you start your martial arts, your brand, Toro, Clan, all that? Like, when did you
um,
take that off?
um, so I was after a seminar with Crafty,
Mm,
and he asked me if I want to be a group leader. So I called Philip because Philip's my trainer, and I asked him if it was cool with him, and he said yes.
mm.
So then I said, okay, I'll start a group here, and then I figured, uh, live in Toronto, Toro, so I started the Toro clan.
I got
It
you.
was, and yeah, that was I don't even remember when that was, to be honest with you, but it was around the same time that I started teaching at Sean Zerga School, and we just became the Toro clan, you know, excuse me, the clan, the one of the clans of the Daw brothers,
So,
and
did you keep it mostly DBMA, or was it a little
no,
everything?
there was a little bit of DBMA, but for the most part, it was PTK.
Okay.
And then when I started getting into Kirby, I threw some Kirby in there, and then whatever madness I would come up with.
Mm,
Um, like for me, it wasn't sold as a single brand, like a single. We have to be a PTK school, or we have to be a
yeah,
thing.
I
We
got
were
you.
stick fighting. We were a stick fighting class, and whatever we trained in is designed so you will survive and fight.
Got you.
And that's basically what I can, that was the premise of the Toro clan. Um, excuse me. And that's kind of what we did, and that's what I do.
And you're still
So
doing that, like, I mean, you still,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
I still have private groups that I teach. I stopped
Mm,
teaching at the school where I used to teach at. Um, I've been invited to go teach at a school close to where I live, which I'm considering. It's kind of weird, again, like, because I have a day job and I have a family, that kind of like, I don't want to spend too much time away from them, like
I got you. Yeah, no, no,
when I was teaching in Spain, I was out there for a week, and that
that's
was like
tough.
really weird. That was tough for me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
I
it's
got
weird to
kids.
be away from
Yeah,
my family.
yeah.
I
You're
got
right
a
away
I got
from
a
them. It's yeah.
I got a 4 and a 6-year-old. I got two feral children
Oh, you got
that
young.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and they love to scrap, but yeah, I love being around my family. Even now, like I think I mentioned yesterday as well. I'm going to be going to Helsinki to teach a seminar out there,
Mm.
and I'm flying in, teaching, flying out. That's kind of like what I do now. It's like when I was younger, I'd love to hang out and do stuff, but
Yeah. No, you
now I
got
just
two little ones. Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah.
yeah. Then they and also um uh they have a lot of energy.
Yeah. Yeah. 4, 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
and oh man, you see them picking up sticks or punching and stuff like that. It's my daughter River is hilarious. Like when I was teaching class, she would step in the middle. It's like, okay, guys, this is what I want you to do.
Oh my God.
And I just sit there and I'm like, this is really awesome, right?
Yeah, that's all.
Or
That is. But I'm going to show this video because I want folks to see this, man. This when you sent me this via Messenger, I really
Mhm.
enjoyed it. The content here. All right, folks, let me know if you cannot see this. I'm getting a little nostalgic.
yeah, and a big shout out to Mark Medeiros. He's the one that put that together. Kind of came in after a class one day.
Remember
He's
Audrey
like,
used to
show me
do
some
finisher
shit,
with
and I was
Growling,
like,
actually
Interesting.
clinching
okay.
with the
Okay.
stick. So you use
Actually,
the stick instead of like giving to the
you can see it
psychotic,
okay,
let go,
right?
whatever.
Right?
It's trying to
Sorry,
smother
You
my
can see
stick
it
so
okay,
so
right?
that's
I can't see it at all, actually.
getting it out with the stick,
But I guess can't
right? It wants to hold on to it, that's fine, because this just what I want to do.
understand it. Folks, let me know
A lot of
if
people
you
get
could,
to
if
this thing where it's like, oh, fuck,
you,
I
let
gotta
me
do
just see this
stick
if
to
you
the-
can't. If somebody could just put in the comment section.
The same stuff you can do here. You can, all this stuff here, and here, in the corner, and all that stuff.
It's great
You can do
stuff.
from in here.
I've watched this a few times.
And it just hits like this.
I'm glad you like it. Like I said,
Get into clinch with stick.
it's so painful,
And
man.
just pretend that the person you're fighting, you don't want to lose your stick. So hurt him with it. First comes in.
People
If I don't do anything, yeah, he's gonna go to town on my back. It's gonna hurt like a motherfucker, right? If I come in here again, going nice and tight, okay? Bring the elbow in. See how his body
Even when I
mechanics
release the
turn?
stick, when I start
Right?
cranking
So
against
from
my
here,
own
it's hard
body,
for him to hit me efficiently. And
that's I
again,
think what people
this
kind
is a
of
split second
when
time,
they're
right? I'm not gonna sit
when
here
we're
and go,
doing
ha, ha, ha.
disarms and stuff.
Got you. This is all hitting. And then
Hey,
nice.
You have to
Split
have that
second. So
aggression
we're in here.
and power behind
Pass
it.
my elbow,
and
so it
intent
goes past me.
for it to work.
Pass my elbow. That's it.
to get the response.
Right?
What's going on in there?
I'm wedged in, but I'm literally just going like this. But at the same time, I'm pulling him towards me.
Using that collar tie?
Yeah. So sometimes,
You have to call it out.
sorry. Like this is just part A. Part B is really using my other knees, my headbutts, whatever else is in there. But I just want to inflict pain. People react to that. They move, right? So again, we get in the clinch. Boom. He managed to pass my elbow. I started digging in.
That's
Put all
Mark.
the other stuff in there. He's not going to worry about the stick anymore.
There was
Right?
Mark in that video, one of my students,
And
Manny,
then when you get the fuck out of it,
and one of my former students, Dave.
anytime I stick fight,
Pretty good, John.
on the way in I hit as hard as I can. On the way out I hit as hard as I can.
Yeah, I'm
if
trying
I
to
feel
remember the video.
disengaging, I'm going to swing for the fences. I don't care if I miss. I remember the first time I fought, when I fought Top Dog at the training camp, he swung the stick, and like the gust of wind that came out of that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to stay out here
You're
now.
talking about the gust of wind.
Right, so he freaked me out that way,
Oh.
besides his fighting skills. But it's the same thing. You scare him on the way in, scare him on the way out.
You know, people
Hey
are
guys,
saying
thanks so much
part
for
of the
watching.
story,
If you
but
liked the video, hit the like button. Feel free to leave a comment.
That whole thing, like, first of all, I thought the material in there was excellent. A lot of times you had collar tie, you had the stick wedge in there, but the whole thing when you were and the body lock, like I do like that. Do you prefer, like, as far as the body lock when you're there, do on the side reference or when you get wrapped and get to the back? Like, do you have a preference or is it energy and what have you?
there's one in there which I didn't really show, and one that I really like to do is from clinch. If I can get a side position, so like their body's this way,
Correct.
I actually like to go underneath the rib cage with a stick and pick them up because that is really, really painful.
I can't even. That's got to be holy.
And one that I learned from Arlen from clinch, where we got in clinch and he let go of his stick and put it on his armpit, and he held on to me. Then he just fell backwards. So basically, the stick hits the ground, and then it goes, and you're holding on to the person.
Yeah.
So the stick just spears you, right? And he did that to me once. I didn't like that one at all. I like doing it to other people, but
I like to share it, but I don't like to receive it.
no. So yeah, the one under the ribs is great, and with Top Dog's fang choke, if you actually can go into the actual, instead of going for a throat, which is an immediate stop for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Another one is to actually go into the clavicle and down
And bring it down.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so one thing I learned is, and especially as I get older, let gravity do it for you.
Yeah.
So instead of using my arm strength to bring it down, I just pick my feet up. And then,
okay.
so now you're holding on to 220 pounds on the point of a stick on your clavicle.
Yeah.
So, it's usually really quick, and again, a lot of the stuff that I say, and I don't know if you hear in the video, these are seconds in time. Like I don't sit there and go and
No,
pretend.
these weren't Kodak moments. No, you were like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I like that.
Yeah.
No, this is like, and like I said as well at the end there, the video, I think is like, I hit as hard as I can on the way in and as hard as I can on the way out.
That's what
Just
I was talking
'cause-
about. Like, there's something there. Like you're leaving, especially if you miss, man, for recovery's sake. So they're not coming back at you. Like, man, right? That totally makes just tactical sense.
And it's sometimes, like we're talking about videos and whatnot, a lot of the stuff is really cool, but when you start getting into set patterns, and then Matt, like, kind of touched on this the other day as well.
Mm.
When you keep doing the same pattern over and over again, and people like me who are older and, just want to get this done as fast as possible, start picking up on it, then you're gonna get hurt.
Mhm.
There's a dude once who he tried like the kind of like a time machine thing, where he redondo, redondo, redondo,
Okay.
swing and kick.
Okay.
And I was like, am I watching a video? Like literally in my head as this is happening. And I knew that the last kick was going to go for my midline. So I literally just walked backwards, watching this person do this. And then when I knew that kick was coming, I just let go a forehand as hard as I could, right horizontal, right where the leg came in. And I smashed his ankle. Um, so, as good as it is to learn patterns, you got to take those patterns apart
Mm.
and then, you know, and fake the other person out. That's the that's the thing I like to do. I I don't want to have someone say I know how to beat that guy because he's going to do A, B, and C.
Yeah, right.
Um,
That
like there's a
predictability.
guy there's a guy named Jonathan Blaney who I fought once, and this dude's like a black belt in judo, and I'm like, okay, if he grabs me, he's going to hit me with the earth, right? So I don't want to get in that range, and he was getting close all the time, and it's the one time where I repeated the same hit. I think I hit him in the same spot on the leg like 13 times in a row. And it got to the point where if I dipped down, he would, it would break that. He would actually try to stop the stick that's going for his leg,
Mm.
but then I was going for his body, right? It's just, you got to mix it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely got to mix it up.
No, it makes sense. Wow, wow. Just
And then
awesome.
also like videos for me, I don't make a lot of videos of myself. It's kind of a weird, uncomfortable thing. I just, I don't know. It
That's
just
too bad because that was some good content. I mean, that was like really, I thought that was some good information there, you know?
thanks, man. It's weird. I think at the stage that I'm at, and at the age that I'm at, I don't want to make it look like I'm doing some sort of ego videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got you. What
And man, eh, videos are one of those weird things. Like even like I don't mind watching my fight videos as long as they're not edited.
yeah,
You know, there's
what
a there's a dude once there's a dude once who edited a fight that he and I had, and he actually has me in a headlock at one point, and he turns to the camera and smiles. Um, and the whole video was edited to make it look like I got, the like tar beaten out of me. Um, what it doesn't show is that, you know, yeah, he had me in a headlock for a couple seconds, but when he got up, he had no toenails when I smashed his feet with a stick, like,
oh,
uh, and some other things that had happened to him during that fight. So I think maybe that's why I shy away from doing videos sometimes.
I got you because you don't know what the people are going to do with them. So,
Yeah.
so that's awesome. I mean, so status quo. So, like, all right. So, what are you doing status quo? Obviously, you're covering from an injury. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you're gonna
Yeah.
get back teaching. You got a seminar coming up. I
I
mean,
got a seminar in June in Finland. I've had some people reach out from other countries as well, but again, until it's just talk until someone says, "Here's your ticket," right? So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
um, and I got some people that say that they want to train. I got two groups that I'm training right now. Um, the main thing for me is over the next month is just basically learning how to walk again.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm laughing because it was like the most painful thing I ever went through in my life. Um, but other than that, I'm getting ready to do a beasting in Spain. So I'm going back to the surf camp, and I've agreed to have 15 full dog brothers fight me for a minute each, nonstop, all until I collapse. I don't know why I agreed to this stuff, but I agreed to it. And so that's the thing besides the seminars, that's what I'm kind of training for again.
Wow. And when's it?
Yeah, it's gonna be
When's that in Spain? When's that?
that's in September.
Oh, so you got time for healing. I got you. Okay. Yeah. 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 All
And the
right.
big thing for me right now, besides the injuries I sustained, I also ended up getting COVID twice, which was amazing. So it's like breathing underwater right now. So I got to get my cardio up because fighting, 15 full dogs is going to be painful. Benjamin's going to be in that lineup. Uh, Eric, from what I heard, is going to be in that lineup as well. So that's going to be, it's going to be, it's going to be a blast.
Eric Nels?
Yeah, so he's going to be teaching there.
Oh, he's going out. Ah, gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I taught this year, and he's teaching there next year, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty crazy. And right now we're just planning some stuff here for the Dog Brothers as well.
Mhm.
I got some ideas. I'd like to maybe do like a open / tribal gathering in my hometown. I have a location which is pretty rad that I think we'd all enjoy, which you should come out to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not that far. Where are you? You're in Connecticut, right?
It's got to get passport and all that. And then in the COVID, are they requiring vaccinations?
No.
No, okay.
I was when I came back from Spain, I had to go through the U.S. because long story, my residency card had expired. But no, they didn't bother asking me. They just like, welcome back.
Okay. Okay.
How far are you from? How far? Because I was in Waterbury, Connecticut once with Philip at the Ron Kozakowski
Did you?
School.
Oh, you
Are
went to
you?
Ron's?
Yeah.
How long ago?
Oh God, that was a long
Gotta
time
be.
ago. I was there with Philip and Tyler when they had a joint seminar with shit, what's his name? Another PTK guy.
Tim Wade.
Tim Wade, that's right.
Oh, that
So it
was
was
early 2000. Yeah, that was years ago.
2010, I think.
It was around there. That was years ago. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I went to Ron's place and that was a bit of a trip. Waterbury, Connecticut.
It's a half hour from me.
Is it?
Yeah, Waterbury, Connecticut. Yep.
What's with all the cemeteries? That's what I want to know.
It was a very, back in the day, it was a very ethnic, like you had, no exaggeration, you had almost a whole town from Italy move over there. Ponte d'Adolfo. So you have the club, the cemetery. So there, I mean, just a lot of Italian. So along came with that was a lot of the churches, the cemeteries, and all that. On the south end of Waterbury, you had a very big French there. So there was a lot of ethnic, and all that. So hence the very religious stuff. And it's fun. As a matter of fact, that one on top of the hill, which you're referencing, is world famous. You know what I mean? I hear it's gotten run down, unfortunately. But I remember going there in the 70s. My parents took me when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just that notoriety.
And I'm half Italian. And I had no idea that it was actually like an Italian.
Waterbury, no, matter of fact, Waterbury town plot. So Ron, on top of the hill, they actually have the middle road is an Italian flag. It was heavily Italian population in Waterbury. Yeah, a lot of them since moved out to the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to go way back in the day, the north end was all Italian, then you had town plot, but heavily, yeah.
Yeah, we stayed at some sketchy motel where I didn't sleep all night just because I was like, what the hell's going on?
No, Waterbury's sketchy. Yeah. It's just, Waterbury it's not, unfortunately, yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. So that's awesome as far as yourself. So what do you What would you like, as far as, I always ask people this that are interesting or that might like, or just pretty blunt like yourself, and we'll say, what is this say? What would you like to see change in our community for the better? Like just the overall FMA community. Like, what if you could see changes? Like, what would you like to see?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I don't know. There's part of me that wants to kind of say get over yourself.
That works. That works.
And like I don't know. It'd be nice, I think the Dog Brothers, for me, they were originally founded because of all the politics that were starting in the FMA community back in the day. And I kind of feel like we're almost at that spot again. The only thing is like we believe our own hype, and everybody's a master now, and everybody's like better than everybody else. And my whole thing now is like if you want to show me something, like show me a reference to how this would work, or show me a reference in a fight.
Mm.
And because I'm so tired of seeing these zombie attacks.
Yeah.
It's like if a man attacks you with an angle one here, stop.
Yeah, no, I know.
And it just that shit makes me crazy because it's bullshit.
Mm.
So that I would love to see. It's like the one thing I was going to say this about Piper. Uh, I'm very limited in my Piper knowledge, but what I really enjoyed about it for the 3 days that I was allowed to train in it was that the stuff they were teaching, there was a reference to where it came from. It's like, hey, why you hold your knife like this? Here's a video clip of a guy getting stabbed with it.
There's nothing lost in translation.
Yeah, it's dark as shit, and it's
It
not
is.
my cup of. But there's a reality behind it, right? And I think what's missing in martial arts in general nowadays is that we believe this regurgitation of information that the song gave you without you actually saying, really?
Or the reluctant to question. What I see big, and it drives me nuts with students, and it parallels what you're talking about. The reluctancy to question, or like you're the student, you're the most important in the journey, and the reluctancy to like fact find, question, validate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Like when I was when I first started, because the people handing out this knowledge were so few, I was like, really?
Yeah, we covered it. Yeah.
Oh my God! If I hit someone's hands, the knife will fly out of their hand. Oh my God! I got to tell everybody about this. And then, and luckily, the fortunate and unfortunate part of YouTube is, go look at knife attacks. I posted this a while back. If you've tried to put socks in a toddler, then you know that knife disarms are bullshit.
Yeah, they're hard, man. They're freaking tough.
Yeah.
Empty against knife is a nightmare. It's an absolute.
I remember I wanted to make this video once of a knife disarm where, a guy comes up, he's like, give me your wallet. And I give him my wallet. And then as the guy walks away, I run him over with my truck, right? And I take my wallet back. That's my knife disarm. Right?
This arm is coming out 100%.
And it's like, hey, that works, And again, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm some sort of tough guy or anything else, but in the places that I lived and the things that and the places where I worked as well, I've been stabbed a couple times and I've never seen it coming. It just happened. And I think it goes back to that thing of, try teaching people because you have to teach them something. Like when you're teaching people some of this stuff, like there's got to be some sort of responsibility to the people around you as well, and the people that you're teaching. I don't teach knife stuff to my students because I'm not proficient enough in it. A guy like Thomas Holtman, a guy like yourself who teaches Piper, yeah, sure, that's go ahead and teach that. But I'm not going to lie to you. I can't. Like I'll teach you what I know about stick fighting because that's what I've been involved in for so many years, and I know what works. But I'm not going to sit there and tell you that, if you grab your stick with only 3 fingers, you'll increase your power by 30%. Shut the fuck up. Like it's, it's, it's
Yeah.
bullshit. That's why when I was making that joke the other day where I'm like, I'm the master Ken of the stick fighting community because I'm so tired of watching some of this stuff where
It's
people are
frustrating.
they're
It's
just being
frustrating.
taught to hurt themselves. Like it's like
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll end my rant there because I can go on forever and
No, but
bring
you
out a
touched
pike.
upon something, the moral and ethic obligation with edge weapons, like, and there has to be one. Like, you have to be honest with folks. You have to tell them, like, look, this is embraced with failures. I'm going to give you what comes out the highest percentage, but I would never tell you it's going to come out 100%. And
Yeah.
with Piper, it's vetting. Like, I just don't, you can't just teach that stuff to anybody, man. Like, we really
Nope.
vet. Like, we make sure they're, or what part of the community coming from. We ask them, like, why do you want to learn this? What are your reasons? Like, what's your interest? I mean, like, really, because we don't want, a bunch of, misfits going out there and just doing whatever. Like Mike Rowley, is, for instance, is under Lloyd as well. And, obviously Mike had a good background. We knew he wasn't going to go on a tear in Vermont and start, I mean, but you're right. It's weird. Sometimes I'll be the first one to admit, I kind of question myself, like, okay, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Every once in a while I have to check myself, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I don't know, dude. Like I look at what you do, and like you're an encyclopedia of martial arts, and I see that the love that you use, like that you have for martial arts. So I appreciate that, and I can understand why you would want to train it and learn it.
Yeah.
And you're being responsible by, checking the people out. But there's some people who are not as responsible, right? And
Unfortunately.
again, and especially with Piper. But again, at least I know the Piper stuff works because of the things that I've seen that, for example, when Thomas was still part of Piper, I could say, where does this work? And he could send me a video showing me real life where this happened,
Yeah.
right? And I don't have a problem with that as much as the other stuff that I was saying before, not to beat a dead horse, where people are they're
Yeah.
teaching people they're teaching people how to get killed. It's like, yeah, put your keys between your knuckles when you punch somebody, or bite on some nickels so you'll punch people 10% harder. It, it's just like it it's nuts. And again, I was saying before, I've given myself permission at this stage of my life to not like things and not to like
Yeah.
certain things, and to be vocal about it because I'm a grown ass man.
Mm.
Like if you're doing a drill that I think is ridiculous and you ask me for my opinion, I will tell you that. And some people just don't like the reality or that honesty, but it is what it is, man. If you don't want me to hurt your feelings, don't ask me a question.
Yeah. Don't ask me. Like, you don't want the truth, or whatever, right? Yeah. No. Man, oh man, this has been wow.
Yeah, it's been great,
Um,
man.
yeah, no, this is absolutely. Any shout out, closing thoughts you want to give to folks, or
Um, I don't know. I think for me, it's just like just go out and train with as many people as you can. And if someone tells you that you can't train with that person because of whatever reason, then get away from them as fast as possible.
that's a whole
And
nother thing, huh? Oof.
and and also when it comes to politics, and like I said, I've been involved in my own very public battles with a lot of instructors, including some of my seniors who I don't unfortunately don't talk to anymore. Just remember, like people's battles are their battles. Like don't get
Mm.
involved because
Yeah.
it's listen. One of the reasons I got away from Bikini was because of that. It's just like for some reason I had it in my head that I had to get involved in these battles that were either my instructor's battles or someone I felt disrespected my instructor, and it's just like they're grown ass men too.
Mm.
You know, if they're not going to respond, then maybe I shouldn't either.
You're right.
right?
Like maybe I should think about before I start jumping in there.
Yeah,
And
and especially when it comes to some of the Filipino arts and the histories and the families and everything else,
mm,
like just train and stay the fuck away from it because I burned a lot of bridges because of it. Um, and the same
mm,
thing with me, like um, I was member of certain associations or associations that I started, and then I was like, yeah, I'm out. And then the people around me thought that they had to go with me. It's like, no, like
yeah,
I leave and do things because I want to. I don't
mm,
expect you to follow me.
right.
You know, if you want to train with me, train with me. You don't want to train with me, that's cool too.
Mm,
But you know, if anything, just like don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. Like I remember there's people who it's kind of funny, but I remember one guy saying that my instructor said if I train with you, I can't train with him anymore. And I said, when do you want to start?
Where do you want to start? That whole control mechanism, like how do you I tell you, I'd say the same thing on here. Like that whole control mechanism where you dictate or you think you should be able to dictate what your students can do and not like making them freedom in their journey to experience everything. I mean, to me, that's terrible. It's terrible. You know what I mean?
I used
Yeah.
to teach. I used to train with a guy in Albuquerque for a while, and like we were really close friends. And he felt that I disrespected him because I didn't mention him when I became a full dog brother. So he forbid his entire school to talk to me. And the
Jesus.
people that would talk to me, he would get rid of. It was just like such a weird thing,
That
you
is.
know?
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah,
It was actually pretty funny.
wow.
It, and so, you
Yeah.
know, like that's the thing. It's like as soon as I see the cycle flags come out, like
Yeah.
I'm gone. I don't even
Yeah.
bother. And for those people who, you know, and hopefully this clarifies for people that do contact me who want to train, like thanks for contacting me, but until you actually say I'm actually doing it, I can't take you seriously because it's just been too many, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, those are my scattered closing thoughts.
No, it was awesome. No, I really enjoyed this, though, and I really appreciate you coming on. I know I didn't give you the utmost as far as notice goes, so I really
That's all
appreciate you
good,
making
mate.
it happen. You know.
No, it was it's been a blast. I think it's probably the most organized and connected conversation I've had with someone in quite some time. So
Oh
I
wow, I'm gonna
appreciate it.
take that. No, I appreciate that. You know, thanks. You know that,
I'm
but
just waiting, like literally any second now. I'm waiting for my kids to burst through that door and tackle
yeah,
me
oh,
because
yeah, no, no.
I can hear them. I can hear them like scratching at the door. It's like I know you're in there.
It's like freaking walkers
It's like how dare you spend 2 hours by yourself?
away from this. Well, hey, all right,
Yeah.
we'll get back to that. But I appreciate you again, man. Honestly, I hope we're, definitely don't be a stranger. You know what I mean? Let's,
Oh, listen, man. Like, it's funny. I feel like we've chatted for like 2 hours and we've kind of like got a good chunk of the story up. It's pretty much there's probably a lot more out there somewhere that we can
yeah,
chat about. All
absolutely.
right,
You take care.
all right, my friend.
All right. All right, folks. That wraps up 355. Man, I knew that was going to be a good one. Man, that guy's hot stuff. All right. Who is next? Who is next? Before I go into that, folks, Fly Christmas raffle. Don't don't ignore this. $10 going to charity. Actually, going to kids, and we're also donating a huge chunk to Arlen Stanford. Okay, so I think we raised. I think we're covering around close to 400. So we hope to. Our goal is to get 500 and there. And it's this Sunday. We're kicking it off 5 p.m. Sunday is and we like always we'll do it right in the FMA discussion there. If you want to check out the prizes that were donated, go in FMA discussion. The post is pinned. You might have to scroll down a bit because there's some quick picks and stuff like that. But you'll actually go in the comment section. You're going to see all the prizes that are being offered. But again, $10 is going for two great causes. Kids are in need, and again, helping out Arlen Sanford post surgery and that. And yes, I just remember who is next. Saturday, Anthony DeSaro Cabales, 2 to 3 Saturday, or starting at 2. And then after that, Monday night, GM Rene Thompson, Jim Yulee talking about the old event days in the Philippines, as far as the sparring matches and what they had there as far as the events goes. Pretty significant what Yulee's team did back then. That's kind of got put under the rug. And GM Rene was a ref back then and really part of the organization, all that. So I think that's going to be a very interesting interview. And that's Monday night at 8 p.m. Okay, folks, again, raffle if you can. All right, we'll see you all next time.